All right, so this is the last topic, Velociraptor, which is awesome, and let's talk about it. I just set it up and got it going, so let me talk. It is very easy to set up. You just have to be a little bit careful. So this is a really wonderful product, and it's free. This is the free version. Rapid7 bought it, so I imagine there'll be like an enhanced pay version at some time, but right now it's just a vigorous open source community. They just had a conference, VeloCon, I think it was the first one, a couple days ago. All kinds of exciting people are adding extensions to it. The purpose of this thing is to be a central location to manage your incident response process like a Windows domain controller is for normal system administration. And they made this product very simple. So if you go and look at the releases, the latest release is now 0.6.6, and what happens is there is the server and the client both use the same executable. There's Windows versions and there's Linux versions. And the way that works best is to put the server on Linux. Putting on Windows, it requires too much resources. So this is the 64-bit Linux executable, which is what I'm going to run on the server. And here's the Windows client. Here's the 32 and 64-bit version. So this is the Windows client we're going to use. But you have to customize the Windows client so it knows where your command and control center server is. So you just have to download this on your Linux server. And so you just do that with wget. It's now 0.6.6-2 or something. But if you download the version with wget, make it executable, and then you generate the configuration. You run the executable. It has a few commands. Let me bring it up live here. Here's my Linux server, and it's currently running Velociraptor. I'm going to stop it and clear. Okay, so if I list, this is the Linux executable right here. So if I run it, it'll show me it has just a few commands. You can generate a client config and a few other commands, and we're only going to use a couple of these commands. So you generate the configuration and put it in a file, velociraptor.config.yaml, and then by default, it only listens for the GUI on 127.0.0.1. So you would only be able to view the GUI by opening a browser on this local machine. And I use a lot of headless machines and cloud servers and stuff, so I don't want that. I want it to listen on a public address, which is, of course, by the way, risky. On a real deployment, you would want to put this behind a VPN concentrator or something, because you don't want everybody getting to your Velociraptor management console. Your Velociraptor server can run code on all your clients, so you'd have to secure it. But for classroom use, this is good enough. So what you have to do is replace the IP addresses in your file. So let me bring up this file. I put it here. If I do sudo, because I moved it, nano etch Velociraptor. This is the configuration file. And what you see in here is a build time and a URL and stuff, and then a client. The only thing that really matters in here is the IP addresses and the certificate. And some of these IP addresses were localhost, and some were 127.0.0.1, and I just replaced them all with the real public address of this server to make everything visible from a distance. And so what happens is the clients will connect on this address at 8,000. Your server address on 8,000 with HTTPS, that's how they're going to send data up from the clients. And there's a certificate to encrypt everything. So they know what their certificate should look like. Everything's encrypted. And there's other parameters like the maximum connection delay and so on, but I just leave them all at default. The only thing I change here is the IP addresses and one other thing I'll mention later. So once you update the IP addresses, now you can run the server. And so that is this command here. You just run the Velociraptor executable with the right configuration file, which I moved to the etch folder there, and then front end is the command to run the front end, and -v is verbose, just so we'll see some messages. So off it goes, and it tells you now the front end is ready here. The GUI is ready there. So the front end at port 8000 is where it's listening for messages from the clients. And at port 8889 is where the GUI we can use is, and that's what I've got open in this browser here. That IP address on 8889. So if you do that, you will get the Velociraptor homepage with the cute little icon, and it just has a couple common tasks. All right, and so from here, now you can't really do anything much with it yet until you have a client. You could in fact inspect the Linux server itself, but for fun, you need to have a client. And so that's the rest of the setup here, which I just did. So for the client, you go back to your Velociraptor server, and now in the configuration you have to add one line, use self-signed SSL, because I did not bother to configure my server with a real HTTPS certificate, which I could get from Let's Encrypt. Then it would be okay. Since I'm using self-signed, which by the way again is not a secure practice, you should probably use a real certificate in practice, then you put this line in the configuration file so your clients know that the certificate will not validate properly. So you add that to there. Right? Now you download the Windows executable with wget, and you repack it. So you take you generate a client configuration, and you repack it to put that client inside with this executable and create a custom executable, repackaged velociraptor.exe. And this is what malware does. This repackaged file contains all the information needed to connect to the command and control server. And on your Windows machine, all you have to do is transport that file to the Windows machine, which I did with SCP. I used WinSCP, although these days you could use a PowerShell command, I think, to download from the SSH server. You just need to get that file on the Windows machine and then just run it with the command service install from an elevated command prompt. And I've done all that. So if I open my machine here, come on, double click, there we go. It should let me log in or something at some point. Maybe I have to swipe up or something. There we go. All right, now that I'm in, this is some malware I put on my machine. It pops up this box saying your window is pwned, your machine is pwned. We're going to analyze this pup. But the Velociraptor, you can see it, it's installed on this machine as a service. So if you open services, you will see down here Velociraptor running. So that's what the client does. It's an agent that automatically restarts on this machine. It runs as local system, so it's got high privileges, and you can remote control this machine from the Velociraptor server. And here's what we can investigate. We can try to find out what's going on with this malware that pops up a box saying your machine is pwned. So this is just setting it up, and there's a couple flags to show you got it set up. And now we can play some games here. So if we go to here, you can investigate the virtual file system. So if you go up here and search clients, you can view all clients, and I have a client. In fact, this one's not around anymore, but this one is around. So this is the one I'm going to use. This is a Windows 10 machine. So if I click the blue link, it'll take me to this machine and show me basic information about it, like Windows 10. And now I can say go to the virtual file system, and I can see everything on the NTFS volume, which I could refresh someplace up here. There. And that should not, yeah, it doesn't take forever. That's the root of C and so on. I could go in the registry. And I could go in here and browse for registry keys and such. So this is one way to use Velociraptor, is to just explore the files on the system. But this is for the birds, and I never do it this way. That's the hard way. The cool way to use Velociraptor is to go not into the virtual file system, but to run queries. And I'm not quite sure what thing to tap to get there. I'm just going to go home and back to all. And back to here, and now I'm where I want to be. Now I can interrogate the server. Maybe I'm still getting it wrong. Collected. Those are the old things it's collected. And there, these are the things I want. Now I can hit plus. And now I can choose collections from a long list of different things I might want to do. Like, for example, I might want the prefetch folder. which is this is a list of all the files that have been run recently. Windows Attack Prefetch. You click on it, it tells you what it is. This maps the MITRE ATT&CK process execution into artifacts. That's not really what I want. I just want Windows Forensics Prefetch. There. This just shows me the prefetch file, which shows recent things that have been run. So I can do that one. I want this one, so I can configure parameters. And I don't think there are any parameters for this one. I could limit the dates or something, but I'm not going to bother. So I'm just going to launch this one. Now the hourglass shows you it's running. You can click on this and watch the progress here in the log. So it started the execution. Collection is done after 3 seconds. It's done. It got 1,392 rows. If you go to results, here's all the things that have been run on that machine. And there's a lot of them. Here's 7-zip running. Here's something called ALAP, Application Framework. It's alphabetical. It's a long list of things. But this is a list of all the things that have recently run on that machine. And so you can do a lot of things here. And let me see if there's anything else worth doing in this first thing. Collecting an artifact. Yeah, you can do netstat, of course. You can do netstat and you'll just get a nice list of all the network connections on the machine. And let's do netstat enriched. That looks pretty fun. So if I make another one, netstat, because I think that we'll see that it shows you useful information about the files. Netstat, this would be the Windows netstat that just shows you information about open sockets. This is netstat enriched, which adds additional data points, which we're going to see. So I'll run that one, configure parameters. I don't think I want to do any, I could limit it in various ways, but I'm not going to do that, and just launch. Now, by the way, these things are asynchronous, like email. You can manage 20,000 machines from one Linux server. And if you send a query to all those machines, which they call a hunt, it will run that process on all the machines, and then it will harvest the results that come back, and it's asynchronous. It sends a request, and when those machines are ready, they send the response, and it accumulates the response. So the point is, you could find an indicator of compromise, like this registry key and this file name will be on the machines that are hacked. And then you can search your entire fleet, which ones have these indicators of compromise, and it will give you the report. And it does this without wasting a lot of resources anywhere. And that's the point of it. So you get your answer here. This one here is done. And I got to scroll up. Here's the results. So I see here's the service host running. It's not only telling me all the listening ports on the machine, it's telling me a lot of information about what is listening. So what's listening here? Here's the file name, and there's even an MD5 hash of the program that's running. So I would be a lot easier to just read this if you download it, which is also available. I think it's here. Yeah, there's a JSON, but I'd rather have a CSV, I think. There is some way to get that. Yeah, download CSV. There we go. And now if I open the CSV, which will be, there it's popping up here, there's my CSV. Now I can open the CSV, and that will launch in a spreadsheet in the fullness of time. And there it is. This is the default Apple spreadsheet. And now I see the hash values are here. I have MD5, I have SHA-1, and I have SHA-256 for each thing that's executed. So it really gives you all the information you need, which is very nice. And I don't want to save this. All right, and so you can now do investigations. And I have a bunch of simple malware I wrote, just little dash scripts that do things. And this one here is a pup. So if you wanted to investigate a pup, this one here is infected by downloading and running this program and then deleting it. So now it pops up this box. And so the only thing you know is it popped up a box saying your machine is pwned. And so what you can do after you're connected to your client, you can use auto runs to see what's on there. Now, auto runs is probably not installed in that machine. Velociraptor will install it and run it. Autoruns is a Microsoft product, to tell you what things are automatically launching on that machine. So it's Windows sysinternal autoruns. So I go plus, and I search for autoruns. And there it is, Windows sysinternal autoruns. This will, I could configure parameters. And in this case, if I do it with no parameters, it's going to find 1,341 parameters, 1,341 answers. And so that it'll be there, but it's pretty hard to find. But anyway, now you can download a CSV, and eventually you'll find it in there. I don't think I'll do it live because it's kind of annoying, but you'll eventually find the run key used to launch pup4 message. So that's one thing. Now, another thing that's probably more useful than that is the process list. So let's try that. That's auto runs. I don't think I'll do that one live because it makes this long thing I have to put in the CSV again. Let's do PS list. Plus, I want to turn off auto runs. That's one thing about it. It remembers anything you've turned on. So you can make a hunt that contains many things. All right, I guess it's forgotten. Now I want to do PS list. There we go. Windows PS list. List processes and they're running binaries. Let's launch this one. Here's PS list running. Here's the log. All right, it started. And by the way, everything is time limited. If anything takes too long, it will just give up. So it doesn't, freeze up your server or your client. So it's done after 11 seconds. All right, here's the results. All right, again, showing me MD5 hashes and various things running, and registry and so on for a lot of these things. And it found 150 rows of data, and one of them is going to be named pup4 message. And by the way, there's a way to find the malicious one easily, and this is probably worth demonstrating. So let me download it as a CSV and open it in a spreadsheet and show you. This is the point is almost everything that is running is signed by Microsoft or another company because it's legitimate stuff. And you can find the stuff that is not signed in your spreadsheet here. So there's the command line. I don't really care about that right now. What I care about, let's see if I can get rid of that garbage. Okay. Let me narrow this one. Okay. What I care about is the signature, authenticode, there. And someplace in one of these columns, there is username working set. Let me check my instructions, because I thought it was in a separate field and easy to sort before, that you could find the one that was not signed. That was the thing I wanted to do here. It may be that I need something other than PS list. But here's the issue. Yeah, here's the issue name and such. It's irritating that this spreadsheet has not made this field separate. But the point is you can see which ones are not signed. See, a lot of them have these long signatures, and someplace there are ones that are not signed. And if I configure my spreadsheet better, like this one, there it is. It stands out. It's not signed. So let me just zoom in on this one. See what I mean? File name pup4 message. It's not signed by Microsoft or anybody. No signature. So finding the program that's running that is not signed is a pretty good indication that that might be the malware. So I have this thing called pup4message.exe. So now I have evidence that that might be it, but I haven't proven that that is in fact the thing popping up the message. I've just found something running called pup4 message. So the next thing that is great fun is to get the memory with Windows Triage Process Memory. I know the name of it is pup4 message, so I'm going to go to my Velociraptor machine and I'm going to do process memory, Windows Triage Process Memory. We'll dump process memory and upload it to the server. I can configure parameters. I don't want all, I'm going to do process regex, and that's going to be pup4. That's probably enough to be unique, I think. So I'm going to launch it and see how it works. Here's my log. Okay, it's starting query execution. And it shouldn't take forever because it's just one little, there it is. It's uploaded files. It's done. It's uploaded one result. If I go to results, it's here. And there's the process name, the full path. And it uploaded a file, which is here, uploaded files. And there's the file, a dump file with, 36 megs of data. So I can download this file on my local system and analyze it. And using a local tool on my Mac, I think I'll just use a hex editor. Open with, say, HexFiend. You could use a variety of tools to do this. All right, and here here's a memory dump, and you see it has some readable strings in it, and I should be able to search for the word pwned. Let's do Control F, and I think I just have to expand it here. Okay, now I can search for, say, text, because remember the message that popped up on the Windows box said, your machine is pwned. So I'm going to search for that word pwned to see if that's in the memory of this running process. So I can put PWNED and search for that, and it's not found. And the reason it's not found is because this is Microsoft Unicode, which adds a null byte after each one. So I'm going to have to go to binary and add a null byte after each character to get the Microsoft version of the word pwned. And now, when I find it, there it is. Your machine is pwned. So now, I found a process that wasn't signed. I harvested the memory of that process, and in that memory, I found the message, so I know this is the process. And this is what I mean. This is the kind of investigation you can do remotely over the network with Velociraptor. And so that's the kind of thing I wanted to show you. And there's a bunch of other projects you can do here with other malware. There's a bot and a two-stage rat that you can use to practice these things. And I should mention that from the conference yesterday, I learned a trick I did not respect enough. I'd seen it, but I hadn't used it. What this guy says is he never does what I just did. He always just uses the sans triage. There's a thing here. If you don't know what to collect, you just use this. I thought it was there. Triage. There are a couple triages. Yeah, Windows triage. Well, there used to be, I thought, a sans one. Maybe you're going to have to upload it somewhere. Maybe they've messed around with it. But there was one of these standard triage prepared things that will just load all the information you need from a client. Running processes, registry keys, the whole file system, the prefetch folder, just a list of the recommended things. He said, that's all I do. I just get that whole list of recommended things every time. Maybe this SDS will be like that. No, that's something else. There is a, I found it before, triage collection, and I guess they might have changed the name or something, but there is a way to just have a standard collection just to archive all the stuff on a machine instead of this targeted approach I'm using. And I guess I'm going to have to hunt and find the name of it. Maybe I have to add it optionally. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show you on Velociraptor. I'm going to stop this video.